A young man entered our institute with his friends, because of his friends. And as he sat down on that high-top stool that flanked the wooden butcher block-style working tables, I went to him. I offered him my hand and I said, "Thank you for being here." Now, his handshake was less than confident, which is not surprising for a sophomore in college. But his body language was distracted, and it wasn't like he didn't want to be here. His eyes were focused, but he stuttered as he said to me, "I'm Louis Forman." 3 years later, that same hesitant student is now a graduating senior at the University of Dayton, receiving his degree in mechanical engineering and an undergraduate certificate in applied creativity for transformation. He is the first of 9 students in this nation to receive this certificate that cultivates creative confidence through the lens of purpose and problem. Real, tangible skills that are sought in today's job market. But for Louis, it wasn't about the major, the minor, or the certificate. You see, Louis wants to help people. Specifically, Louis wants to help his brother, who is autistic. And any possible way to discover new ideas to do that was of interest to him. Our institute empowers students to engage at the intersections of new idea creation and creation for action. So Louis can now continue to look for ways to help individuals like his brother while finding real human connections with his friends. Friends like Quentin, a fellow engineer, and Ale, a friend in digital media. And today, they are now creating a series of safe space prototypes for individuals with disabilities who travel using public transportation. So they didn't come up with this moonshot idea in a lab or lecture. They came at it together as a cohort of friends, sharing similar experiences, majors, passions, and missions. In addition, they had a collection of educators who walked along the path with them, hand in hand, experiencing and learning together. This generation of learners, born between 1995 and 2010, we affectionately call Generation Z, is the new workforce, focused on passion, purpose, and impact. And as educators, we need to make ourselves aware of this fact, for we are the first gatekeepers towards career and towards adulthood. And as educators, we need to move ourselves away from the keepers of all knowledge to authentic collaborators of shared learning, taking these actionable steps together. Louis began these steps as a sophomore, and it was here he was introduced to the Japanese concept ikigai. Ikigai is not an acronym. It means a reason for being, and it is a meaningful path that takes time, patience, and trust. And at our institute, we take a lot of time with Louis and his fellow friends, discovering those journeys, those shared answers of those ikigai questions, co-discovering the intersections of our missions, passions, professions, and vocations. And at Dayton, at our institute, we've even added a little extra weave to the ikigai, a plus sign. And this plus has become the actionable steps for our students to advocate, serve, develop, and innovate for the social good, something deeply entrenched in Generation Z's DNA. Louis has become awakened. His passions have always been numbers and problems, and he knew he would make a great living in those fields. But his vocation was his brother. And even as I stand up here today, his greatest concern is who's going to take care of his brother when his mother and father are no longer there. Before this ikigai process, Louis could never see the intersections between his engineering talents and being a caretaker for his brother. 3 years later, Louis, along with Quentin and Ale, have moved a singular, highly intense, focused concern to a collaborative purpose between he and all of them. In Louis and in our Institute's Ikigai Plus journey it has become very apparent that one, we are better when we collaborate together as student and teacher. Two, we are better when we transform together as student and teacher. And three, we are better when we impact together as student and teacher. So let's collaborate together. The ability to teach across the silos of education, to listen to each other's story, and to listen deeply and work with each other is what retained Lewis. This active empathy, this ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and then have the confidence to act upon that experience is exactly what our students are seeking today from our peers, parents, and teachers. The award-winning millennial marketing group, the Lovell Corporation, outlined this in their 2017 research. They found that Generation Z is the first to prioritize seeking work that fulfills their passion, and then the want to share that passion with similar or same coworkers. If we collaborate together, we will begin to respect the shared value between teachers and students isn't just good for Generation Z on our campus, but everyone beyond our campus. Two, let's transform together. Turning those moments of shared deep learning into something of action is exactly what the Ikigai Plus has done for Lewis, his friends, and his teachers. His purposeful path has been additive and iterative, and as he began to make meaning of his brother's autism and his engineering experience, he began to articulate what he knew and, more importantly, what he doesn't know. And this ambiguity and this seek for knowledge has been transformational and has become the key to that purposeful collaboration amongst all of us. In his new book, The Invisible Leader, Zach Mercurio discusses transformational purpose as a practice of authenticity, emotion, activation, and everyday practice. The everyday practice of the Ikigai Plus between our students and our educators continually moves a singular passion into a shared purpose. If we transform together, we'll begin to respect the diverse values of those socially conscious paths of Generation Z on your campus and everyone beyond your campus. Three, let's impact together. Lewis no longer only identifies as a mechanical engineer major. He identifies as a brother. He identifies as a collaborator, and he has an authentic purpose laid out in front of him. He has a collective of educators that has grown and supported along the way. This personal, purposeful, meaningful focus is what our students value. And they also see their own value differently and recognize that we see that value differently as well. And that is how we meet our generation of Lewises to accomplish change. Looking beyond the major and the diploma and graduation and looking towards to celebrating collaborative change in the world. If we impact together, we'll begin to value that human actions and the effect it has on Generation Z is great for those on your campus and everyone beyond your campus. Each of us teaches a Lewis, and I'd be willing to bet that the majority of your students are more Lewis than not. So go with me here. Close your eyes, and I'm serious. Close your eyes. Can you picture your Lewis? Raise one hand if you can see your Lewis. Go ahead. Raise two hands if you see more than one Lewis. Now keep those hands up and open your eyes. How do we meet all of these students where they are? Let's stop labeling a generation. Let's begin to recognize a generation's drive for change is collaborative, transformative, and impact. Transformational impact together is where we need to be now as educators. The one hat in one classroom, the proverbial sage on the stage, has evolved into multiple hats on any given day. Teacher, advisor, mentor, and friend. And when we are ready to take that authentic step and learn about our students' purpose as well as ours, be it through the ikigai or not, we can then walk hand in hand with a world full of Lewises, collaborating, transforming, and impacting together. Thank you.